If you've ever been cheated on or you suspect you're being cheated on, then you want to listen to this. So I was just chatting with a friend and telling her these 3 tips I gave these girls that I met recently on how to spot a cheater. Because, of course, in LA, you have a bunch. Really, not just LA, but like everywhere in the world. And I've come up with 3 ways that I think are going to help anyone, not just girls, but also guys who are dealing with suspicious folks that they might be seeing. And these are tips that are mainly for people who are actually in what they believe or what the partner is telling you is a serious relationship, right? So these are tips for people that are in a serious relationship with someone and that person is telling you that they love you, that person is telling you that they want to be with you forever and ever, and yeah, you don't really trust it. So tip number 1. First off, not everyone has social media, but I would say majority of the people out there have social media. So this is mainly aimed for people if you're dating someone that clearly has social media and like takes pictures of their food and is constantly posting stuff about their lives and their friends, okay? If your person works for the FBI, then they most likely doesn't have social media. That's okay. But like, I mean, how many of you are really dating someone from the FBI? So for regular folks, if you are with someone and they usually, before you met them, you realize that they do post on social media. They post about their friends, possibly family, a lot of pictures of themselves, going to raves or whatever. Okay, so if you're in a relationship with someone who usually posts on social media and they're not willing to make a square in actual post, not a story. Stories don't count because stories are only like 24 hours. And a lot of the time people do close friends, like a close circle story where, you know, they can choose who to put on there. So they could literally put like one person and it could be their own account or whatever. And they say they posted it, but they didn't really post it because nobody in the world saw. So you want to make sure that that person who usually posts is posting a public post and not just a picture with you. Like if you're dating somebody for like 2-3 months and you've already posted about them and you want them to post about you because they usually post about their previous girlfriends, or even if they didn't and you just don't feel comfortable, you want them to post, I don't see what the big problem is, unless again, if they're an FBI agent, in that case they wouldn't even have social media. And if they do have social media, then, you know, if you post about food all the time, then it kind of applies, right? Like if you usually do make posts about people and about friends, then it only makes sense to make a post about someone that you're in a serious relationship with, if they're actually serious with you. So if they're gonna make a post about you, you can't just be in an image with someone. Like I could be in an image with someone and I could post them, but I can put no caption. If I put no caption, then technically I could just be dating somebody else and say, that's my brother, or my cousin, or my best friend that doesn't live in the country, right? Like there's just so many lies that can go on. So you want to make sure that in that post that stays up there publicly doesn't have to have your name even. It could just be like, that's my girlfriend, right? Or that's my boyfriend. So that's absolutely necessary. And again, I just want to clarify that I'm not saying if somebody who usually doesn't feel comfortable making posts, like I have friends who don't post all the time. Like literally they have these like stalker accounts where they just look at other people's posts, but they don't post anything themselves. So if they're like that and they don't take pictures of food, they don't really make stories normally, I don't think you need to force somebody like that to make a post about you, because sometimes people just like to stay private. So definitely make sure you know what you're dealing with. But I would say it's safe to say that if someone who usually makes posts all the time and is comfortable having their face all over social media and their friends and family, that they would want to be posting about you. And if they don't, then something's up. Okay, so that's step 1 to figure it out. Step 2, this is the one that's going to be a little more tough, and I feel like people may not feel as comfortable doing, but I definitely think that if you are very uncomfortable in the relationship and you're really doubting, then this would help. Okay, so this one is what you do when it has to be planned out, right? So I would say this is like when someone tells you like, I am so serious about you that like, okay, possibly looking into marriage, just very, very serious relationship. You're at that level. Not like I would not do this on like a first date. Don't do this on a second date. Probably not even a third date. But at a certain point when you guys have like met each other's friends, at least at bare minimum, I feel like if you don't meet someone's friends and you don't meet their family members like ever and they're dodging you, then that's already sketch enough. I wouldn't even try this step on them. But if you are serious and maybe the social media post wasn't enough for you, I would do this. I would go to a public place, right? Like set up a date, right? Set up a date, go out for date night, you're having dinner in a public place, and then just out of nowhere, be like, hey, here's my phone. Feel free to look at it. Can I have your phone to look at? And you guys should just be able to like do this in front of each other. If that person you're with is not willing to hand over their phone, I would say that's also a little bit sketch. And again, you have to be careful with this one, because I know I do have friends that are like, well, maybe they just don't want to hand it over because maybe they have a private conversation with their sister or coworker, or their boss, and they don't want to share it with you. Okay, yeah, I got that. But we're not trying to look into those conversations anyways, right? So you can totally look at someone's phone if they're comfortable and they're not cheating on you, to just scroll through, like whether they're using Signal or WhatsApp or just iMessenger, just go over the apps. And if nothing's popping up, like I don't know, like a Tinder notification and stuff like that in the time being, that's also, it goes to show they're not really afraid, right? Because people who are afraid usually won't hand it to you, because in the moment, as you're even looking at it, holding it for 5 minutes, something could pop up. And we're not going to go and dig into like conversations with like your family, right? Like if I'm going to go look at someone's phone, I'm not going to be like, let me look at like 5 years ago what you talked about with your mom, right? Like that was private. So it's not really a reason. I feel like people who aren't sketch would be happy to hand over their phone, and especially have you view it in front of them, right? And if you see like, I don't know, a girl that you don't recognize talking to them like at 3 a.m. in the morning, you could probably be like, hey, let's look at that. Who is that? Is that your coworker? I don't think so. So that's up number 2. Number 3, honestly, this one I would say you don't need to do unless you are engaged, about to get engaged or something like that. Because I think like if you plan on tying your entire livelihood with this person in the future, then it's okay to like ask someone of this. Otherwise, I feel like, again, if you've been dating for like a week, people might not be comfortable. I honestly would be comfortable if, you know, I'm in a conversation. If I'm in a relationship with someone for like more than a year, I would feel comfortable doing this, which is sharing your GPS location. So sharing my location on my phone, because especially if you have an iPhone, obviously, you know, there's Find My iPhone. You can make sure you're tracking the other person at all times. And I actually do this with my family members, just so we know each other, like where we are, and you know that they're safe. And in case somebody loses their phone, which actually happened to my dad before, he lost his phone and I was able to track him. So, but this is, again, only something I think is good for just safety reasons. If you're in a serious relationship with someone, or you're married, or you're engaged, to know where they are. If they lose their phone, you're there to help them and you know where it's at, right? That's one reason. But then it also, I think this is the last step number 3, as to like how unsketchy someone is, right? Like to spot a cheater. Because if you're with someone and let's say you are traumatized, you've been cheated on before, and you tell them and you explain, and you're like, I would like to know where you are at all times, right? Like if you're at work, I want to know you're at work. If you say you're at a certain club or at a friend's house, I would like to know where you are. I don't think that's a lot to ask for personally. Let me know down in the comment section below if you think that is a lot. But I would like my significant other, and he does have me, my location, and I have his. And I know a lot of people that are also willing to do this, even with their friends, just to keep safe. So I think that's the last step. Good luck to all of you guys. This is coming from somebody who has experienced a lot of liars, just during my dating days on Tinder and all those other dating apps. And I still see a lot of girls going through the same thing, meeting these serial cheaters, and then people that are in relationships, possibly married, posing as single people. Like this just happens all the time. And again, this is not just for girls, this is for guys too. Save this video, share it, and I hope you try these steps out, or at least one of them. And if that person you're with isn't willing to do any of these 3 things, and they are not an FBI agent, I'd be a little sketched out.